Look at this. I got headphones on. I got a mic going. Baby.
If
Huh?
only people could see you now.
Hey, no video. We've gone through this before.
All
No video.
right. Welcome to This Commerce Life. This is a podcast aimed at small, medium entrepreneurs focused on commerce. I'm Phil, your host, and Kenny, your co-host, will join us as well. And we're going to talk to you about the world of retail and commerce and how things are changing in the world.
Where are you, Phil?
I am in Boston.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. It's it's been good, I think. Yeah, so far so good. So yeah.
Very good. Where are you, Shnane?
I'm in Vancouver.
Oh, you're home. Oh, nice.
Yeah, I'm home. Yeah, I leave on
Good.
Sunday.
Good.
For how long?
Just till Friday.
Just till Friday. Just the full week.
Oh, that's good. And then I'm back for a week, and then I leave for a week again. That's a full week. That's like Sunday to Sunday.
That's a haul, eh?
Yeah. Are you guys going to tell me what the heck I'm talking about?
We don't know.
we
Sure.
we will sort of.
Will we?
We will sort of. I'll do the intro. I might as well do the intro and then
Yep.
and we'll tell you what you're talking about because it's kind of how we do this show. But so we're really excited. We have Shnane Liam on. We've talked about her before. She is this rock star lady who is, I don't know, barely at the prime of her life yet, and she's got
Barely.
and she's got this amazing PR agency called Vive Social. They do PR, they do socials, they do all these things, and
She's national.
she's national. She ran out of Vancouver. Now she's in the big city here in Toronto as well, and kind of rocking it out. So welcome to the show, Shnane.
Well, thank you for that intro. Those are the nicest
course.
things anyone said about me. So thank you.
We
Not
say those
likely.
things about you all the time. Yes.
I mean, I want to know when you said we've talked about her before. That's suspicious.
Yes.
Yeah, you should listen to the podcast. You'd find out.
But in order to pad the stats on the podcast, you will have to go back and listen to every episode to find out where we've talked about you. So yeah.
Okay, fair.
Yeah.
Fair.
'Cause we need more than just 4 or 5 listeners, Shnane.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
we're trying to get to 10.
So we're really, you know what, like, so I think like one of the things that Kenny and I try and do for our audience, because our audience is always, they're kind of small, medium business owners. They could be retailers. They could be
Sort of similar to all of us.
Consultants like us, that sort of thing. And we talked a lot about things like Kenny and I talk about all the things that we do, and one of the things I think that we don't do a lot of, and we needed someone super smart to be on the show to do it, is to really talk about what the other side looks like, right? Like helping people like us out with things like PR that you know very well, things that they struggle with, like Shnane, you and I, every time we talk about, every time we have coffee, we laugh about some of this stuff. So, that's, we figured we'd get you on the show because you're just super smart to begin with, and we love you a lot. And then kind of pick your brain around, things like PR, what small, medium businesses need to know about PR, how to equip you to help them properly, and then, some of the other things you do too, like socials and things like that.
Okay. That sounds good.
Yeah. So maybe what we can do is a really good start would be for you to kind of, tell the audience a little bit about Vive Socials, maybe some of the clients you've worked with, that sort of thing.
Sure. Yeah, sure. So I started my agency 7 years ago, just because I saw part of it is just I had really great timing. I was working full time for a startup, and I just saw like social media was coming up, and Instagram wasn't really around yet, and brands were starting. They knew they had to get Facebook and they had to get Twitter, but they didn't really know what it does. and, they didn't want to pay an agency, $10,000 a month to do it, but they also didn't want to hire somebody in house. There was kind of this like sweet spot where I could help with, entrepreneurs and startups. So that's really where I got started. And then, public relations and influencer and events and all that stuff really just, it's all part of it, and it all just organically fell into place as services that we needed to add as we grew, because they all are so connected. So, since I started it, we work with all types of sizes and industries. We work from like real estate to food to beauty to fashion. I didn't want to pigeonhole myself into one niche, because you never know what's going to happen in an industry. And I think we always want to make it fresh and always like keep learning new things. And so I didn't want to just only do beauty or only do tech or only do real estate. Mm-hmm. Wanted to do a little bit of everything, because it always keeps it new and you're always continually challenged. So yeah, that's where we're at now. We're still pretty small. Like there's my team of 8, and we're all women. And yeah, it's fun and challenging and hard and great and all those things all wrapped into one.
It's not that small, by the way. Just see, if you think about it, 8 people in 2 cities, 1 Vancouver, 1 Toronto. Like you've we kid you about being a little rock star, but like seriously, I mean, you've done pretty well for yourself, my dear. I mean, it's
thanks. It doesn't. I don't know. Like you just see, I try not to do the comparing game. I try to stay with my blinders on and not fall too far and the grass is like greener on that side. But there's lots of agencies who have started after mine, and they have like 30 people. So you never know, but I like our size.
Yeah, anyway, I think you've done an amazing job. I think the Vive is kind of this rock star thing that you've built, which is kind of amazing. I think what's really neat too is if you're listening to this, like Shnane, not only is kind of in this space and doing a ton of work and really just helping businesses out, but she's also she's one of us too, right? So she's kind of this small medium rock star that's like I like having to learn to hire and fire and figure out employees and all that kind of stuff as well, right? So I think she's one of us, which is really cool.
I'm doing a ton of crap wrong, so
we never said we were doing that, Shnane. So now maybe you're not like us. I don't know. Maybe it is different.
No.
We all know me. Don't worry.
Yeah, there was no being like, oh yeah, I really dodged that bullet. It was like, no, the bullet hit me. So I made all the mistakes. I still make them, but
How else do you learn? How else do you
Pardon?
learn? That's how you learn.
That's how you learn.
Wow.
Yeah, it's true.
So I have some questions for you. I think so. I'm curious. I think I know. I any chance that I get time to hang out with Shnane, I do. Because it's great to have coffee with Shnane and do some work with her as well. But I have questions for you. So as you work with businesses, what are things in your business that you see need states for the most that companies approach you for the most? Is it the PR side of things? Is it the social media stuff? Is it kind of a blend of both?
It usually starts out as one thing. And then when we get to know their market, like kind of what their goals are, what they have launching, it really blends into more than that. Like right now, I would say like even 3 years ago, someone came to us because they needed, new social media, and then you needed to be more current and have a better like representation online. And so it would be like, okay, yeah, we'll just do your social media and we'll do all your photography and we'll make one big strategy and manage it day to day. But you can't just do that anymore. You have to bring in, elements of public relations. You have to bring in influencer partnerships. You have to bring in events is like a huge one we're doing right now. So it all, like, depending on the brand, I mean, it all really ties in. So someone will usually come to us, like I said, for like either public relations or social media, and they'll kind of evolve into adding it all into kind of one like 360 package. And I feel like even as a business, like I'm starting to think, okay, I have to evolve our services a little bit to explain that we do kind of a whole whack of things. You know,
Right.
Yeah.
Yes, we can just do one service, but you know, to get results, you really have to do a whole bunch.
Got it. And what is there anything that you see? Like, so are there things that are kind of trending for you right now?
Yeah, for sure. So I would say what's trending right now is people, you know, the media space is getting really small. So before, like, you know, when I first started out, you could pitch different editors and different freelancers, and there was much more of like a fluid relationship between everybody. But that's shrinking and shrinking and shrinking, as I'm sure you've noticed. You know, the National Post is also posting in the bank. Like, it's everyone's sharing the same writers. Everything's condensing. You know, budgets are getting cut. It's really sad, but it's totally changed the scope of what PR was even 5 years ago. So yeah, I would say, you know, people are kind of tired of doing like the media circuit and, you know, the same old, and they want to do, you know, IRL. Everyone wants to do some stuff that's like in real life and have like, and for example, that would be like, you know, people are calling it experiential marketing or activations or pop-ups or whatever you want to call it. But there's a total shift from bringing it online to bringing it into people's lives and then using online to support that versus being the only channel that you can reach people. You know, it's all about making that actual human connection. So in a way, we're kind of flipping things back and turning back the clocks a little bit of how things were once upon a time. But it's a totally new challenge though, because it does still integrate social media. It does still integrate PR. You got to get people to know about your pop-up or your event. You have to invite the right people to go there and spread the word. So it all is integrated. But there is a much bigger push to be like, okay, what can we do that's totally out there and creative? And what can we do to like disrupt people's days and take them by surprise and create this memorable experience? That's really what people are, I find, shifting towards. And so as a creative person, it's a whole lack of like other challenges. It's really forces our team to think outside the box. I mean, I really enjoy it because when you come up with a concept, the client takes the proposal, which is like the biggest high ever. And then when you bring it to life, it's awesome. It's great.
It's a lot different than it used to be, isn't it? Like you said they were not segregated, but you could get away with, but some would do PR, some would do this, some would do that. And now you're having to try to bundle and bucket all these things so that you can go to market with a much more 360 approach. My question to you be, especially because a lot of our listeners would be smaller, and because you know a lot of the people that I know, it's you know, how do you impress upon these people that the budget they need to allocate to this, and how do you get them, you know, how do you get these small guys to really understand that there's a reason that, you know, that you have to buck up, like you have to, you know, you gotta pay to play, like, so
yeah.
How do you manage that, or is that even a challenge for you?
Can I insert a question in there? I think what might lead to that question, if it's okay, is, you know, so transparently, Shnane and I work together. I brought Shnane on to help me with, you know, with NIMI and what I'm doing at NIMI. What might help in that process is, do you want to tell them like the things that you have to do, like the questions that you ask, you know what I mean? Like whether it's me and NIMI, or it's you know, Kenny and his client, or
you're more
any of the other
sophisticated,
clients.
Phil, though. Like you're more of a sophisticated marketer and shopper of marketing.
But but I think where I'm going with this is, I think like what Shnane needs to do to learn about the clients that she needs, like the things she's got to do leads to the part about bucking up and, because I think, a lot of guys kind of see like, well, I asked for this, so do this. But I think I want Shnane to kind of tell them what the process looks like, because I think that would lead them to,
well, maybe a better understanding of what they're actually asking for.
Yeah. Do you know what I mean? Like, because it's not, it's a hidden science, right? Is everyone goes, oh, well, just do socials for me. And you're kind of like, it's not how it works, right? Like can you kind of tell them about that process, like the things you got to do to figure out the business and the industry and all that kind of stuff?
Yeah, for sure. Well, I think the first thing I'll just kind of start with is that we don't say yes to every single client, because sometimes, people just aren't ready for press yet. Mm-hmm. Their company's either too new, or, they haven't really developed their story, or they think something's super newsworthy and it's not. And so I never want to waste anybody's money or time, or let them down with expectations that they thought that, they were going to be on the cover of Time magazine. Like, no, it's probably not going to be. So that is the first thing. Like, not every company gets a yes, right? Not every and that doesn't mean never. It just means like maybe just for at this moment until you develop your company further, then you can, create those stories that you want. But so from our point, like, we basically kind of try to be the best interviewer you've ever seen, and we really try to get to the story. So we just try to have a conversation. That's the first thing I try to do. I just try to learn about where they're from, what their background is. I sort of put on my, I guess, best interviewer journalistic curiosity, and just try to pull out stories. Because from there, like, maybe someone comes in and is like, I'm launching this new tech product and it's amazing. And maybe the product is okay, and there's probably maybe other products that compete with it, but they have a really cool story. And maybe, they weren't from Canada, maybe they immigrated here, maybe they put themselves through school by being like an Uber driver, or there's all these kinds of things you can pull in that you learn when you just get to know them. But we ask these questions we try to put our, try to be like, what would interest an editor or a freelancer, or what would create something that would actually build interest from a reader. So when we ask these questions, we go in with that mindset. And then from there, like, there's so many ways that we can create news. Like, for example, maybe the person, like something that, Phil and I are working on is like doing surveys and getting numbers that way, and working, doing infographics or something along that nature that just really shakes up what the industry hasn't seen yet. And just because it hasn't been done doesn't mean it doesn't make sense. It just means that you can go in there and kind of carve your own name for yourself. So we're always looking at ways that we can make the client stand out, that maybe they hadn't even thought of before. So that's kind of where we come from. On the startup entrepreneur side that Ken was speaking to, yeah, that part's hard, because there's some companies out there that are really awesome and they have a really great story and a great product, but they just have like zero budget. And I totally understand that. And if there's someone out there that, maybe is just starting out and doesn't have really any money to hire an agency, there's kind of, there's things you can do that isn't necessarily going to cost you like $100,000 to put on this, big festival or whatever you want to do. Like, do you want me to just kind of share some tips about what people can do if they want to do it on their own or kind of run it in-house?
Sure, we love tips.
Sure, why not? Yeah.
Okay. So some ideas would be like, there's probably people that you want to partner with that you can kind of share some of the costs with. So for example, if you are a skincare company and maybe you're like an all natural skincare company, and then you would align really well with like an all natural smoothie company, or a protein bar company or a yoga studio in your area or whatever. And like you guys can pair together and use both of your audiences, maybe do some sort of panel or free class or whatever. Like kind of think about who's in your network and who has the right audience that you would totally want to target and align with, and then kind of start those conversations that way. Something that we did for a client that really cost nothing except for their employee's wage, which they would have to pay anyway, is like we did a braid bar at this flower shop opening. So the flower shop did flower crowns and they just went in there and braided people's hair. So it was like very like a Coachella feel. It didn't cost anything, right? So there's things like that that you can do to help your company grow. And then once you get too busy to start thinking of those things, then you can talk to an agency like ours or whoever's to come in there and kind of take that over and keep coming up with new ideas for you and doing the partnerships so you don't even have to worry about it. Those are some of the things you can do if you really are starting out from the very bottom of the budget barrel.
No, interesting though.
It is, right? Like I think you know, it's funny. Shnane just makes it look easy a lot of times. Like, I mean, even these tips they're kind of big, right? Like for folks that are starting out and need to figure out how to do things, they're pretty key tips that'll help you kind of move along.
I hope so.
Really cool. Yeah.
Totally.
I had another question, but I don't remember what it is. Kenny, do you have a question?
I always have questions for Shnane.
Oh.
See, my questions are always, but I'm more interested in how you do things and how you overcome some of the things. In that, you can. I'm always curious to see what people expect and what they think when they call you in, right? So, because this is just my perception. I think a lot of times what people start with is, well, I need somebody to do some marketing and I need social media. So the first thing they do, they try to figure out how they can sort of farm out their postings and pictures and all that lovely stuff. And then when they talk to someone like you, see, like every time I talk to you, I get super stoked, right? If there was a lot of these companies, if they were mine, I would just hire you. I just would, right? Because the ideas are cool and you're excited and you want to do it. But I'm always trying to understand I'm always trying to figure on your side, how do you work through sort of, for lack of the better word, like the rejections or the parts that people just don't get? Because for small business, you have to quantify things right away. I mean, big business does too, but you can bury money in other spots. For some of these small business, I don't think they understand the real, if you don't do certain things, the cost it has later. Like no matter what the cost of you or anybody like you that's coming in, the value you provide is measurable once it gets going. But how do you get to that? Like, how do you work through some of the rejections, especially in the small people, I guess is what I'm trying to understand.
Yeah. Well, rejection is a big part of, well, maybe I shouldn't say that, but it's true. Rejection is a big part of what we deal with. We're an agency. We're not an in-house person. It's much easier to fire an agency, and it's part of the landscape. So, and even like we've had, a few clients this year that we've had for over like between 3 and 5 years, which is a really long time to have a client typically, and they're pulling it in-house. And that always, it sucks. It's hard, but it's also like, I understand, and it's totally, it's almost like a really peaceful divorce, it's like, yeah, I get it. Thank you for your time. Thank you for, like, I'm just grateful and appreciative of having them as a client because they're great people. But I don't want to see them go. But at the same time, it's like, that's the next step, right? That's what they want to do. I understand. So that part, it's always going to sting. And in the beginning, it was really hard, or like, you pitch for a client, you really, really want to work with them when they go with someone else, or you never hear from them again, or whatever. And you just gotta, I let myself be sad for kind of like down. I give myself like 4 hours And then I just get over. I think you just gotta get over it. Like it's like when you do like an email mistake and you have a typo, even though you read it 7 times and you send it, that you spelt like the word "the" with like 5 E's or something, and you're like, oh my God, and you're so embarrassed. And then I let myself like kind of wallow, and then I just go over, because then you'll just sit there and it's a waste of time. And so, yeah, you just got to keep moving forward. With the smaller clients, I understand because they're starting out and it's so passionate and they have such a strong hold on the brand, because usually it's just them and maybe a few other people. Relinquishing that control is a big step. And when you're just starting out, they don't trust you yet because you don't have anything to build trust on. You haven't built that relationship yet. So you really, like, the first thing I try to do, especially within the first 6 months of working with someone, is be like just very, very communicative. So, having weekly calls, or if I can, like seeing them in person at least once a month. Really giving them, I found what really helped me kind of get past that is doing like a very well laid out critical path. So they know exactly what you're going to be doing each month. So if we're doing the social media, okay, from June 20th to June 24th, we're going to be shooting these photos. We're going to be doing this video. June 24th, you know what I mean? Just like very laid out so they can see. And before I was just like, oh yeah, we're going to do all this stuff. But like, and then 2 weeks and they'd be like, what are you doing? And you have to really kind of like walk them through it and let them know, like, this is what we're going to do now. This is what we're going to do after that. And then we're going to do this. And then we're going to look at the analytics at the end of each month, and we're going to see what worked, what didn't. And then we're going to move forward, and we're going to show you exactly what we think, what worked, what didn't. And we're going to show you what we're going to do to change it in the next month. So you just have to really be there and not take for granted that they're just going to trust you, because it's just like dating. Like, no one's going to trust you until you build it.
Right.
So I try to do that as much as possible. Sometimes you have relationships that just don't work, and sometimes it's just not meshing and
Not a good fit.
Yeah. Or even after all that, they still want a crazy, some people are just going to try to get you to do stuff for free, right?
Yeah.
And you got to do those boundaries. And I'm never going to be one that's like, oh, I've hit my hours this month. Like, I've never, ever done that. I never will. But if I do say something, it's because they're really trying to take advantage.
Right.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, like, let's talk about this, right?
Yeah.
But I think a good tip that I've learned is when you're having some sort of friction, whether it's with a client or a colleague or anybody in the workspace, try to, I don't want to have these big, long email, I don't know.
Back and forth.
Oh my God, no. Like, I just say, if I get an email, or if they're not understanding me, or if they are panicking or whatever, I'm just like, I just try to call them right away. Let's talk.
Yeah.
Because you're going to get someone completely different. And I've had clients before where like they just didn't want to pick up the phone, but they like, I don't have time to talk to you, but they'll send you like 10-page emails, and you're like, but what? This would be so much faster if we just talked about this.
Some people just don't like the conflict though either, Shnane. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And a lot of times the challenge you have is you trying to manage expectations of a client. And typically, because Phil and I have talked about these topics in the past, is really people don't understand it as much as they think. Like, everybody thinks they understand Facebook and Instagram because they use it, but that doesn't help you understand it when on a business side. So you're trying to manage expectations, and what does it mean? What do the likes mean? What do the impressions mean? And all that other wonderful stuff, especially with smaller people, right?
Yeah.
Because they trust you. And then 10 minutes in, okay, what's happened? Nothing's happened. How come nobody's here? What happened? What are you doing?
I know. Yeah.
Right. And you're thinking, shit, man, it takes time.
It takes time. And even with like press, like if you send out pitches, like there are stories that take 6 months to go to.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But how do you explain that to a little guy who's budgeting there and thinking, well, everybody said this is easy. It's supposed to happen now. Like, where is everybody?
Yeah, I try to manage that right from the beginning. But even sometimes you set that out and you say like, this is kind of, it's going to take, like social media takes time.
Yeah.
You can try to propel it with event support and influencer support and all that stuff, but it's still going to take time. And if you're not going to put any money towards advertising budgets, like, and by that I mean like Instagram and Facebook ads to help you get seen a little bit more. Like if you don't have that either, and you don't need huge budgets to do that.
Right.
Like if you do an Instagram, you do for like $10. Like you're going to see a huge difference in how many people see your post with $10 than with nothing. So I would, I mean, it's all stuff to consider. I know it's hard to navigate, even though it's been around for a long, seems like a long time. It's still really new. Social media is really new, and it's always changing.
Yeah,
totally.
It's changing, right? Every day it changes, so it's
yeah.
I think that's why, like, for someone like me, that's why I find it fascinating, because I'm a little bit older than both of you. Well, one of you definitively much older. Not you, Phil. just so we're very clear, not you. The other one definitively, not you. But it's trying to, especially when you get into my age group, you're trying to, it's the managing the expectations. I'm always trying, you know what is, Shnane, I think because I feel for you a lot of times when you go through these things, right? Because it's a lot tougher to, so like when I go through with a client and I'm talking about pricing or money, right? And how to change things, you can see dramatic changes quickly. Like you can. If I change costing or retails on something, you can see a profit and loss pretty fast. When you go into your world, like you said, you do this really cool article and it's a great story, and they wait. And this is the typical wait. They wait 3 days. Well, where is it? Then they wait 7. Well, where is it? And you're thinking, buddy, it could take 180. This isn't, you change a price by $1 and you can see your profits increase in a couple of days, like literally, right? That's how it works.
Yeah.
So I'm always trying to understand on your side more so than mine. It's probably more for me that I'm trying to ask this is trying to figure out how you just navigate that. Like it would drive me nuts.
Yeah. So, so I would say with press, for example, PR is hard because you don't really, the thing I hate about PR is that you don't have any control.
Right.
Like even if you have the best pitch and the best story, it doesn't mean that it's going to get published by the person that you want it to get published by. So what we try to do is if we have a client, we try to have 2 to 3 different channel, like pitch ideas each month. So if this pitch didn't fly in this kind of storyline, we're going to also pitch this kind of story to these types of people and have different streams. So you're not kind of putting all your eggs in one basket. Sometimes that works and sometimes it doesn't, depending on the client and maybe, the story, and maybe the launches are coming at a different time or whatever. But I mean, I think right from the get-go, we tell them like the stories, the ideas that we're going to pitch, who we're going to pitch it to. And then again, like every week kind of telling them, okay, this is what went through. This is the feedback we've had. This is where we think we can kind of land the next story or whatever. And with social media, it's a little bit, I find it's easier to manage people's expectations and the fact that it's more tangible. They can see a post up. They can see this video we created. They can see the captions we're doing, and they can see, you know what I mean? Like they can see numbers that way. And even if they're not getting 10,000 followers in a month, which who does that? Right. But they're going to see that they have a really beautifully aesthetically pleasing feed that speaks to the brand a lot better. And that's collateral they can use for other marketing materials. So I feel like that's a little bit, I should say, like it's easier in a different way because they can see exactly the work you're producing. Whereas PR, there's kind of, they're kind of trusting that you're doing it. They don't see it unless it's on the online somewhere posted by someone. So I mean that part's always, and the thing is, like, a lot of people are like, okay, how come I don't have 50,000 followers yet? It's so much harder to get followers these days.
Well, it's different.
And
It's saturated.
yeah, it's saturated and the algorithms are tougher.
Exactly. Everything's
And
different.
everything's different. But, for me, I always think of it as like social media and anything you do online, whether it's PR, whatever it is, it's your business card, and if you want, people are going to Google you first thing they see if they see your product or your service or whatever. And they want to see that you know what you're doing and that you can at least put one foot in front of the other and you're doing the things you need to do to make sure that you represent yourself the best way possible on any platform you can.
Mm-hmm.
If they can't even find you on Instagram, if the last post you did was April 2016, they're going to think you're out of business. So that's how that's how the generations think now. So, you have to stay consistent.
Always makes it sound so easy, eh?
It does.
Not you, Shnane. No, Phil and I've talked about this ad nauseum. Is that we always laugh that and this is and I know you've heard this from clients because I hear that from a lot of my clients. It's like we're just going to go online and we're going to do this and this, and you're thinking, yeah, okay, sure. It's not that easy, guys. I mean, you're battling through a lot of noise. You've got to know what you're doing. You've got to think it through. How you write is very different than how you wrote in a newspaper 25 years ago. How people find you is completely different than it was 10 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And you got to be cognizant of that. And when you're dealing with people that's, again, more my age, where a lot of the small businesses are, they got to remember that. It's that, we all know how to use things, but your mind sits back in the times when we were your age, and that's what you think of. And you got to get past that mindset. It's different.
Yeah. And, this is such a small part, but this something to think about too, if you are kind of running your company's own social media, is something is that, like, I've had a lot of people, they're not going to email you customer questions, but they'll send you a DM on Instagram or on Facebook, or they'll ask you a question right on your feed. And when that doesn't get answered, it's like, it's such a simple thing to do, but if you're not tracking that, you've lost the customer. Right. So you have to keep your eyes on it, and it doesn't matter if you have the most beautiful pictures or the best captions written, but if you can't even answer your customers on Instagram when they ask you what size something comes in or where they're available in their city, or if you ship to Ontario or something, like, that is so basic. And if you have to keep your eyes on that for sure.
Right.
Awesome. I love it. Shnane.
So much smarter than you, Phil. So much smarter.
He is.
Such a pleasure to have someone so much smarter than Phil. Usually I'm right after Phil. Like, I feel good tonight because I know Phil feels like I do most nights. So this is good. This is good.
No, I love it. Like, I think, that's why I'm working with Shnane, right? Because I just, I like the way she thinks about things. And then, she puts up with my craziness all the time. So
not even crazy.
It's kind of cool. It's kind of cool. It's nice of you to say that, but
that's not true. But that's still nice of you to say.
So I have a question for both of you. So you guys kind of swap. So Phil, you were consulting, and now you're full time, and then the exact opposite. So what do you guys prefer? How are you navigating your new kind of professional lives?
Good question.
I would never go back. I love what I do. Yeah. And I do. I love the independence. I love the fact that I pick who I deal with, when I deal with, why I deal with. Like, I've always been pretty good at connecting people. I like doing that. I like trying to, now it's even more so, right? How much impact you can have on individuals, but even on companies. Like with what I do, Shnane, because of the size of the companies, I just love the fact that I can make a difference. Like, I can help them make a difference. And what I'm finding is the amount I'm learning, because I've got wonderful clients that allow me to do things. It's incredible. It's incredible. I would never go back,
how did
ever.
you manage expectations then?
Probably very similar to you. I mean, I guess, you see, mine's sometimes a little different because a lot of the stuff I do can have, it can have impact pretty fast. So because a lot of my stuff is more, like if I'm doing, because I spend a lot of time with pricing with people and costing. And if I change your cost, or I can get you a price increase, or if you're a retailer and I can show you how to sell something for $8 as opposed to $7, I can show you pretty quickly how you can bank some money. If I go into your store, like on Tuesday, I was in Penticton for the liquor store. And their big concern is that the store is tight and we have no space and blah, 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 blah. And I walked through the store and I said, listen, I can find you 12 pallet spots right now. And then you walk with them and they think, wow, like shit, that made a huge difference. Yeah. But see, my stuff is very fast. Like I can do that and then I can get my hands dirty and I can build an end and I can move stuff around and I can show you very quickly how this can make a difference to your world. So I think, to be honest with you, out of the three of us, like I'm the complete monkey of the group. Mine's the easiest one. By far. Like that's why I admire the two of you and Alois. I mean, I came from marketing from a degree standpoint, but quite frankly, the fact that you guys immerse your whole lives into it and can make a living at it and do it, I think is remarkable, because I think it's as you know, marketing in university, especially, you take your hits for taking marketing because that's the easy one. And then you think, yeah, you know what? You go do it then. You go manage the expectations of customers who thinks things happen in 15 minutes. Mm-hmm. And, you know, you're trying to strategize concepts and ideas, and you don't know if they're going to hit. I mean, I could tell you pretty quickly, if I raise the price, I can tell you what's probably going to happen. If I lower it, I can probably tell you what's going to happen. You guys can't do that. It's a whole different game. So I think my world, to be frank with you, is much easier.
I don't,
that's how I see it. I think it's easier. I take a lot of time and I might be massively, you know, overstretched at the moment, but it's not, like I always tell everybody, this is not rocket science, man. I mean, seriously, I do it. I mean, let's be serious, right? I mean, come on.
I think the
shit.
I think that your proof points are easier to show, right? Like, cause there's a math to what you do, right? Like you know, you cut the price by this much.
Yeah, it's a little more linear.
With it, yeah, it's more linear. But I don't think I think the part that is the same is when you're building, you know, when you're building strategy or you're building a growth plan, you know, you still need them to buy in, right? It's just that you can hand them more proof points along the way, right? Like,
which makes it easier to fill. That's my point, right?
Like marketing stuff takes a little bit longer, and then, you know, somebody like a salesperson always takes credit for something that you've done, you know.
Because who's the last person to touch it? The sales guy. See, what if it wasn't for me, your plan wouldn't have done anything. Okay, sure, Einstein.
Yeah. I think for me, I'm kind of, I loved the consulting life. I took the NIMI thing because it was just so interesting, and in a lot of ways, like, you know, I mean, Shnane, you've seen it, right? Like, we're, you know, there's like 55 or 60 people at NIMI, and we're still this little startup, right? You know, because there's so many things we don't have. So I love it because there's this whole, you know, like I'm helping a business and I'm engaged in the vision and I have a chance to shape the vision. So that's really cool. But, you know, if all cards were on the table after NIMI's done, I'd probably just go back to consulting life because I loved it so much.
Phil deserted us, is what he's saying, Shnane. You just bailed on us.
No, I didn't. I still
just bailed. He was doing the thing and then went back to the full-time world. Then he plays this, I still do all this consult. Oh, sure, Phil.
I do.
Phil, full-time. Full-time Phil.
Full-time Phil.
Yeah. But no, I love it. I'm having a lot of fun. It's kind of upside down. You know, it's upside down.
You're like a consultant in that company. Come on.
I am kind of.
You are.
Kind of, yeah. But it's really fun.
It's cool though.
It's really crazy.
It's cool.
Shnane and I are cooking up things that
Yeah.
my team isn't quite ready for.
Good.
Yeah.
Light it up, man. That's the fun of it.
Shnane, we're working on it. Stay patient. I
Oh,
promise
no,
you. We'll.
I'm fine.
I won't say the whole thing, but Shnane and I cooked up this thing, and I passed it on for some approvals, and
You scared the shit out of everybody is what you're going to say.
yeah, we literally.
Good. That's
I
awesome.
think somebody shit their pants, so
So you did your jobs.
Yeah.
PR.
You did your jobs. Good for that's.
Yeah.
You know what though? If you scared the shit out of somebody, you guys killed it. That's what you're supposed to do. Otherwise, why do it? You're doing the same otherwise. Good for you.
I think
Yeah.
I'm
Muck it up.
laughing
Muck
every
it up.
time I send something back to Shnane because I'm just like, this is really good, but they're not ready yet. Just give me a couple of more days. I got to warm them up a little bit, and I got to.
Yeah, that's fine though. I don't know. It's like that's all part of it. You kind of we always start with our like strongest idea and then kind of see what we can you know.
Yeah, you got to test, right? Like you got to push and test and.
But you got to have thick
water.
skin. You've developed you've developed thick skin, Shnane, for a younger person who's managing a team in 2 cities. You're traveling a bit too much, but that's a different story. I don't need to be your dad right now. But you start looking at it. It's pretty incredible that you got to be pretty resilient. You got to develop some thick skin, right? Because you hit a lot of walls, and like you said, like Phil and I've been talking about. Phil goes hits a bucket of balls, and I do whatever I do. But you got to kind of bounce back. I mean, okay, you hit rejection, we move on. Let's go next.
Yeah, I think
Keep going.
Totally. And I think now I'm kind of navigating something where it's like the whole managing a team situation and then managing different employees and
It's
stuff
tough.
is like
It's tough.
like
It's a lot of work.
It's a whole other job.
It is a whole other job. And it's one of those ones that, if we were ever going to sit down and chit chat about that, is I would tell you the same is, at that point, that's when you got to do what we tell people to do. That's how we all get employed. The 3 of us is you got to get someone who's better at it to do it for you.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Because otherwise what you do is you spend your brain power on things that are, yes, important, but not where you should be.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And that's, you're getting to that stage of growth where it's probably that time where, it may be, it's your time to kind of do the outside look and say, you know what, I can do this, but geez, I could do so many other things so much better that would drive revenue and that I actually enjoy a lot more than, I hope none of the young women are listening, but you're babysitting a lot of times. That's what employees are tough that way, right? It's just like you're thinking, my shit, people, come on. Are you 4 years old? Let's go. Holy moly. I don't care if she said that to you. I don't care. Please, let's go.
Yeah. I will say, like, I've been pretty lucky where I haven't had to deal with too much, like,
Thank God.
maybe I'm just not aware of it. Like, I haven't had to deal with too much, like staff drama between people where I'm, like, having a referee. Like,
Good.
hasn't really come. Yeah, but you never know.
But as size goes, guess what? It's inevitable, right?
Yeah. So I think that's what this thing is like. You just have to kind of, where I think I'm trying to figure out is, I love coming up with ideas and being creative, and I love, I still love what I first did when I was working in my studio apartment when I started the company, right?
Yeah.
But it's exactly what you said. It's like, but then there's other aspects because I want to grow our agency. I have goals I'd like to hit too. I want to become bigger and work with more people and all that, all that stuff. And it's
cool stuff.
you have to. That's why a big part of why I opened in Toronto is because there's just so much opportunity there.
That's where it is in Canada, right? I mean, all joking aside, I mean, our city is a small city, and it's different. And if you want it, in this country, like I tell even, Phil and I've talked, I tell people in my industries, if you really want to make it in Canada, go to the GTA.
Yeah.
Right. It's a lot more competitive for sure, but the population base is there. The numbers are there. The people are there. The head offices are there.
Yeah. It's a totally vibrant
city.
It's really
absolutely.
cool
It's a great city.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's a great city.
I really didn't spend any time there. I didn't know anything about it. I still don't really know, but
You get some great restaurant recommendations.
Oh yeah, I love to eat.
It's a great city.
They got great food there, and
They
just like
do.
great atmosphere. It's a really cool city, and
It's a great city. Yeah, it's clean. It's lively. It's I love Toronto.
Toronto's
So
awesome.
it was, too bad it didn't have our setting, but whatever.
Yeah,
They get what they get.
Cold, and it's like I'm like a West Coast baby, and so that was my first winter.
Oh yeah. Yeah, we're sorry about that. There's nothing. Yeah, we're sorry.
That's tough. I got it. My gig in Edmonton. Like I'm thinking, oh fuck, man, I don't know how you people do it.
Oh my god,
it's cold up there in freaking June. Never mind.
Yeah.
Shit.
Yeah.
Oh, it's intense.
That's bad.
It's just insanity, but that's all good.
Yeah, it's okay. You just get
it's all good in the hood, baby. All good in the hood. Exactly.
Yeah, you come on the left.
Very cool.
Yay! We're so glad to have you on.
Finally.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah. No, thank you for coming on.
No, that's good. I'm glad we did this too. This is awesome.
Tell people where they can find you.
How to find you.
You know, all that kind of stuff.
Although they can always contact Phil and I. We'll just direct them anyway.
Yes. For finder's fee, we'll tell you how to find Shnane.
Always a finder's fee.
We're all about helping one another out.
For a price, 100%.
Yeah, so we are ViveSocialPR.com, so VIVE socialpr.com, and then our Instagram is at ViveSocialPR. And then I'm Shnane, Shnane, at ViveSocialPR.com.
Awesome.
Is it Vive Social or Vive Social? I always say Vive.
So,
I say Vive too.
I know. So you know what? Maybe it's Vive. So
it's
we don't have to be Vive. You tell us what it is, and that's what we're going to do.
You tell us, lady, and then that's what we'll call you. Be the
boss. We're pliable. Our wives have trained us very well. Tell us what you want us to say.
Well, so I started. So it's Vive.
Okay.
But literally, like 99.9% of people are like it's Vive, and they've been saying that since the very beginning. And so it's kind of like, am I saying it wrong? You know what I mean?
No, it's your business.
It's your business. Say it wrong. Vive.
Okay.
I'll call it Vive from now on.
People. It's Vive business.
Vive. Don't listen to Phil and Ken. It's Vive.
No, it's Vive. Got it? Everybody got it.
Vive Social. Awesome.
Vive Social.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Thank you for having me, guys.
Yes.
Thanks for coming on. Finally, I'm glad you came on.
Yeah, we're really glad.
You make us look good.
Oh, please.
All right, that's the end of this Commerce Life. We'll be back soon with the next episode. Thank you for joining us. We hope you enjoyed it. Give us feedback. Tell us what you think. Subscribe, like us, join us, share us, tell your friends about us. And we hope to see you next time with more commerce news.